Party people, ladies and gentlemen, he's, she's, theys, thems, the gays, everybody in between, left, right, up, down. If you got a human mind, body, and soul, the ability to receive this information I'm giving you today, I want to thank you for being here and sharing some of your attention, some of that precious energy that you have with me and with this product that I'm sharing with you guys today. So, I understand I've taken a little bit of a hiatus. Dropping that No Contact Narc series, No Contact Narcissist in full, was a little bit taxing on my emotions, a little bit taxing on me just spiritually. So I hope you guys are cool with me doing that a little bit. And if you haven't checked it out yet, go ahead and check that, because I've decided, I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm just like crazy, schizophrenic, whatever it is. You're just going to have to put up with it at this point. But I've seen too many negative things that have conspired with creators, and I don't even want to say the word influencer anymore because I feel like that's dying out, and we're about to talk about that in this episode. But I've seen too many negative things in alignment with creators and courses, and I never wanted to be in a position to where you guys were not able to consume the information that I was giving you. One, because you couldn't afford it, or two, because you felt like it was not worthy of the value that I was providing, or it was like a scam, or it was like some kind of, for lack of better terms, literally just no words. So hopefully you guys can understand and appreciate the free courses that I'm putting out, and understand they're not free because they're less valuable than anything else I'll put out or anything that I charge for. It's free because I understand, especially in this day and age, this time of human history, of American history we're living in, it's going to be very, very important for those of us who don't have access to the mobility and the flexibility that finances can and a lot of wealth can, that we are democratizing and really sharing high value, high quality information amongst each other so we can make the best decision for our current circumstances, for whatever may happen in our existential reality. It's interesting because I've realized if I am able to produce these courses and show you guys not only the material that I'm working with, but truly give you guys an opportunity to come a little bit closer to the understanding that I've come to in this journey, that will almost in a double whammy, positive double whammy, that'll not only help me to feel less lonely in this space of critical thinking, but also allow you guys to understand a lot more closely and more directly as to the intentions behind whether it's the projects I'm working on, the art that I'm creating, or just the advice that I'm sharing with you. I believe that the social media era that we live in right now has put a lot of people into positions of false authority because they're able to garner attention, they're able to have like large followings, or they're able to convert, I said that incorrectly, I apologize. Or they're able to convert views into sales. And because of that and the validation that comes from a verified account, check mark, or it comes from 1 million followers, or comes from having all these likes in a certain amount of time on your video or on your post, we have collectively as a society shifted the appreciation for people who are building their brands and who are truly like standing on top of ideas and concepts and information that they're actively cultivating and applying to their real life. What I'm trying to say with all of that, and I know I use a bunch of words, but what I'm trying to say is that as long as you can sell the image of the solution that you're attempting to sell and have that believable to the audience that you're selling it to, then it almost like doesn't matter what you're saying. And at that point, now, which is even worse, we're looking at course sellers and the success of selling a course as to how much money you can make off of it, rather than how many lives you can change fundamentally, and at that positively change for or closer towards the solution that you said you were going to sell them. And again, we can blame late stage capitalism and the internet and just side hustles and the prioritization of money and profits over other people. But I wanted to make sure that even if I don't make a single dime, off selling courses, I want to know that the people in my community and the people who are I'm thankful enough to receive my information and to hold me to some level of trustworthiness and credibility, they will always have me as a resource for the mind that I have and how I have seen I can apply it to a world that is quickly like shifting away, further and further away from intellectual conversation and critical thinking. I've realized that it's more important for me to just share this information as I'm going along my journey so I can help as many people along their way, rather than attempting to hold you back in a certain position of your journey until you're able to pay me. Because what if the information that I'm holding on to can allow you the perspective that will change your life and put you in a place to then make the decision that allows you the abundance, allows you the access, allows you the resource or the opportunity that you wouldn't otherwise have or had access to if I was gatekeeping this information with money. Again, we're not even again, this is new because I'm trying to get into the video without making this intro super long. We're going to walk into a world, especially if we have like an internet blackout or something. America will get thrust into a world where you're going to have to see all these internet celebrities try to apply the fame and the credibility and the verification that they were able to achieve online, try to apply that to a real world that cares nothing about that type of validation or that type of engagement. And most people will be putting fries in the bag, I'm telling you. Most people who are telling people to put fries in the bag will be putting fries in the bag. Because most people, and this is even beyond course sellers, this is for most people on social media, have gotten away with getting real compensation for just being able to sell the dream that has not actually made it to reality, because they're using that mask of credibility, of likes, views, of followers to protect the world from actually seeing their real life until that fake mask can actually become their real life. And many people never actually make it into a space where they can actually validate that life that they're portraying online. Whether you're a course seller, whether you're an Instagram model, whether you're even like a musician, an athlete, like there's a lot of people who aren't. So, because I've decided not to scam my grateful, gracious, loving fans with these internet courses that mean absolutely nothing and you can't apply to your life and probably won't exist outside of this internet bubble we're still living in America, I'd hope that you check out CosmicNomadsRebelSouls.shop and get you some gear, especially if you're just a little psychotic. Get you that t-shirt, and I hope you rep that all summer. Because if you wear it, it adds 10 sexy points to whatever you're working with right now. And that may be the only 10 that you need. No, I'm not going to sell you a dream. Come on now. Just get the shirt. Now, I'm not sure if you guys clicked on this episode because you're a fan of the Kardashians or because you hate the Kardashians. Personally, there's a love-hate relationship that I have with them, but as an intellect, self-proclaimed intellect, of course, because I'm not going to get that kind of credibility in this society, I'm not a fan at all. And as a black man in a very broken black community as we exist in American culture, especially on the digital world, I'm not a fan of what they've done and how they've exploited us for their own personal benefit. But I hope us as a people seeing their success and seeing the plan they have used to exploit our own ignorance and allow us to participate in their empire building, I hope we can take inspiration from that to not only protect our own, to protect our people, but to also look at the ingenuity that this lady Kris Jenner has. Look at the supreme level of intelligence that this lady has displayed over a multi-decade career as a momager. In a world where we all know what momagers are. Momagers are just literally selling their kid for money. So, now that's this is going to be a heavy conversation. And before we get into it, of course, everything in here is alleged, even though most of the things I say are facts. But the only reason why I say something like that is because I don't want somebody to sue me for something that's real, and then I have to go through a whole bunch of like litigation because I'm right. And I'm just right before the world wants to be ready for it. Let's get into this episode. I hope you guys are ready to talk a little bit about entrepreneurship, talk a little bit about how it applies to this digital world that we're living in and the first family of social media, the Kardashians, the Kard-Jenners, whatever the hell you want to call them. I call them the sirens of social media. But whatever you call them, just save it. Now I'd like to get into a message from our sponsors. Do you feel like a loser? Don't. Purchase some merch from Cosmic Nomads RebelSouls.shop today. And make sure you hurry in time before we conclude our Black History Month sale, where you can get 25% off your entire order at checkout. And if that doesn't sound enticing enough, how about adding an extra 10% off when you sign up with your email and SMS to the pop-up subscription once you hit the website? Can't wait to see what you pick up. Cosmic Nomads Rebel Souls, life inspired by love, passion born from pain. Rebel Souls, live forever. Now, I have to start a lot of these conversations with me putting myself in the position of the person that I'm speaking about and then just taking all the accountability myself rather than projecting, hey, this person is doing this. Because one, we don't want to accuse anybody of something that they're not doing because publicly, especially under the American legal system that protects rich people under everything, we don't want to be wrong and defame somebody's character. But if we're right, then we're just going to look at this as a thought experiment. And then we'll also allow this thought experiment to help us make better decisions as to how we engage economically with our society. And on top of that, how it's so important for us as a people to prepare for these new eras of technological advancement, not only to benefit off of economically, which we'll speak about Kris Jenner and the whole Kardashian family being able to do off of the social media empire, but how we can make sure that we're protecting ourselves from the influence that will inevitably trickle down from the top to the bottom of society as a means of convincing the poors or the have-nots in society to sacrifice more and more of themselves and their own morality for the sake of social validation and acceptance that, again, means nothing because it exists in this illusion of a reality called a digital world. And we only clock in here like a 5 to 9 after we've already lived our real lives in the real world. And another thing that I want to say before I get into this video, not even video, I keep saying that, but before I get into this pod, I want to say I'm not making this as a means to like spite the Kardashians or like to spite Kris Jenner, because I'm going to tell you right now, when I was doing the research for this, which is at the end of the day, I don't really do straight up research. This is kind of like things that I'm interested in, and then I'll make a podcast on it. But Kris Jenner might be one of the smartest people, business people, that I've ever heard speak in my entire life. And yes, you heard me clear. Kris Jenner is one of the smartest business people that I've ever engaged with intellectually. I've not like one-on-one, but like studying wise. And I think this is a perfect case study for us to see how not only the first family of social media leveraged this to build their own empire, but how we as black people, I know I'm kind of repeating myself here, but how we as black people, and obviously if you're not black, you can participate in this too, can not only be the marketers and influencers of business and propaganda to like make ourselves famous and have celebrity status, but to also run the businesses that need the promotion so we can be promoting and marketing our own brands and incubating our own culture amongst that engagement and that activity. Allowing all of the people in our community not just to be consumers, but to participate in creating the culture, participate in consuming the culture, participate in contributing to it, and also sharing it with other people's cultures. Because one thing we're going to have to understand, and I'm not sure if I'll make this a podcast or not, because this has a lot to do with the app that I'm building, but one of the main natural resources that America refuses to accept that it has profited it so much in this world is its ability to have this diversified and trend-setting, pioneering culture that even if we're in the face of the most like inevitable failure and defeat, we are willing to ambitiously go straight through it and try to force a victory through it. There's something about that not only the ability to create something out of nothing, because there's many third world countries that have the opportunity to do that. They just need a chance and resources. But the ability to constantly be the leading, the trendsetter, the front head, the figure. That's something that America's had, and America's ability to lead that race and to literally inspire other people's economies off of that, off of our cultural exports, an intangible asset that we don't even have to like source out of the ground. We just have to have people engaging with each other to do it. It's going to be a very, very, very important aspect of the global economy as a lot more like political, sociological things happen to go down. But that's not as like, that doesn't pertain too much to this conversation. I just want you guys to understand how important culture is, especially as it is in America, and how many of you guys may be confused as to why we're doing so many of the things to like destroy average American life. It's because we're beyond broke. We're beyond broke. There's no culture to sell. We've drained out the culture and we've not reinvested in it to make tech bros and finance bros billionaires at this point. Nepotism in all the creative fields has absolutely stopped the sourcing and the cultivation of real new talent, creative artists that may have never pursued that path. It's just like there's so many things going on, but again, I'm a tangent dude, and this is one conversation that we're going to try to have here. And hopefully I can stick with it and y'all can stick with me. I'll conclude this little tangent that I've been going on, me really protecting myself from legal defamation lawsuits and all that type of stuff. I just want to say that look at this with an open mind. Everything that I'm about to tell you with an open mind. Because I'm going to call out a lot of people here, especially for things that like are not supposed to be said. They're supposed to be like the unwritten rules of business. This is why like all the top corporations kick out all the ethics departments and kick out the HR people, because they don't want to have to actually address this type of stuff. But if you want to be a part of actually getting to a conclusion that people can actually hold on to and apply to their lives, you have to be willing to face these kinds of truths. And that's what we're going to do with this episode here. So hopefully you guys are ready for that. Whatever you need, popcorn, soda, smokes, a baddie, I don't know, all of them. And we'll get it started. All right, I'm not going to do too much speaking on Kris Jenner's backstory because I'm 100% sure. I've watched a handful of YouTube documentaries who've done a terrific job explaining not only the backstory of the Kardashian-Jenner dynasty, but even going as deep as the business empire and the whole entire year-by-year proceedings. I think it's amazing. I'm almost 100% sure, again, because I'm not doing the research right now since we're live recording. Cruel Mind, Happy World is the person that I'm speaking about that has done a video on the Kardashians. So go ahead and check that out. Free promo. And if you'd like some backstory as to how, as it pertains to some of the perspectives I'm giving here, you should go check that out. And it's a nice watch for your weekend. One of the reasons, and I apologize for laughing, it's just because there's some things that are just so amazing to me. I don't know what to do other than just laugh or just sit there in awe. And one of those things is, forgive me, Kardashian and Jenner sisters, for saying this, how Kris Jenner can pull 5 of the most talentless people on planet Earth, turn one of them into a billionaire, no, 2 of them into billionaires, and the rest of them in the multi-hundreds million net worth. Talentless. And this is not me hating. This is me stating facts. Now, it's one thing to get some like a superstar to $100 million or like a weirdo creative artist and try to put them in line with modern culture and traditional morality to get them millions, hence Kanye West. But to get absolutely people with no value, and this has been called out at multiple points of their journey, and they've just somehow been able to evade this and continue to build. It's Kris Jenner is gonna, if there is like some kind of like Business Hall of Fame, Kris Jenner go in there, at least in mine. Even though what we're going to describe in here isn't too positive. I believe that the best way for us to even receive this conversation is to set the groundwork and understand this is not just an everyday person. This is not just like an obsessed mom. This is not just a soccer mom. This is a highly strategic, like I'm talking like CIA level, strategic business person who is able to orchestrate moves that have turned, again, talentless people into billionaires. Because I will tell you one thing right here. If they worked jobs, they wouldn't even be millionaires. Again, that's up for debate because that's not a reality that we live in. But they wouldn't even be millionaires if they worked traditionally. I know everyone knows that clip of Kim saying, you need to get up off your ass and work. Everybody knows that. But mind you, we're not just talking about millions. We're talking about these people off of the play I'm about to show you have made billions collectively as a family. And we have to understand how this is even a thing. Because it's, again, I have to tell you, it's not just taking a talented person and saying, hey, I can get you to an audience of people who will pay me money to make sure that you can stay alive and keep producing this stuff. This is, how can I just literally grab somebody off the street and in 5 to 10 years turn them into one of the most famous people in society for absolutely zero reason? Now, another important aspect that I want to get into before we get into the meat of this situation is the perspective that a lot of people may not be keen to, but parents wanting to live through their children. The case that we're about to get into is very similar to a failed athlete as a parent who wants to be the star athlete, so they force their child to be an athlete and put them through these rigorous workouts and to go through the training and go through the games and go through the uniforms and all this stuff, even not really knowing if the child wants to do it or not. But what's different about this is that the amount of reward that comes on the backside of just submitting to the plan that the mother, which is Kris Jenner, has for her daughters in this situation comes with so much benefit and opportunity that otherwise would never be had. It's very difficult to know whether or not any of the daughters genuinely wanted to live this life, or it's fully because the mom is living through like an octopus all 5 of her daughters and making sure that every single opportunity she could ever potentially have and any dime she could ever potentially make is grabbed and had through them to make sure that she can compensate on the life that she never got to live. 1, because she was a mother, and 2, because she was a wife and then had to deal with kind of constantly playing in the back ends behind the scenes for other stars to run the show. A lot of momagers and parent managers, their greed stops at just selling their kid, like straight up saying, hey, you can have my kid for this time, for this in this environment with these circumstances, as long as I'm getting paid. And a lot of exploitation happens around that. But even worse, kids are like abused in those types of situations. So one of the reasons why I believe that Kris Jenner decided to pull her own kids into their own like agency and then to popularize that agency, which is a very commendable reason, which is because I know she wanted to protect the safety of her children and whatnot. That's what I can assume as just an upstanding citizen, as somebody that she who hasn't been accused of any crimes, I could assume that's what she was doing. But if we're going back to that jealous parent, or not even like a jealous parent, but the parent that wants to live through their kid model, you have to realize that the identity, the actualization, the everything, the autonomy of the children is completely severed. And it's compensated by being a celebrity, being able to date whoever you want, well, not even that. We'll get into that in a second. Being able to be super famous for no reason. That's the compensation for it. But again, you have to go through and be genuinely the collateral damage that will afford your mother the goal that she wants to have achieved, which is probably one that is so ridiculously high in the sky because there's a void inside of her that is so ridiculously deep, it is impossible to fill, meaning that the reward has to be something contradictory to that, almost like impossible to reach the top of. Now, I know we said we want to give Miss Jenner the benefit of the doubt by saying that she is managing her own kids because she wants to protect them from the nasty billionaires of Hollywood and New York and basically all over the world who all do the same thing because they all prey on kids and children and women and literally everybody. They're just so drunk on power, they just exploit anybody who's in a position they deem as beneath them. So it does seem like the proper parent move to manage your own children rather than giving them off to an agency to be pimped out outside of your own control. But there's no way in hell. There is no way forget hell. There is no way on earth. There's no way in hell. There's no way in heaven if you believe in that you become a billionaire. Think about this. You don't even become a billionaire selling regular products. Like if I was selling t-shirts, if I was even selling drugs, you don't even become a billionaire without supreme levels of profit jacking and exploitation. And even if it's not profit jacking, you're selling people scams, you sell people lies, sell people dreams. You cannot be in on this alone. So before we get into the play that Kris Jenner obviously wanted to get, which was make talentless girls superstar celebrities and become a billionaire off the back end of that and become probably one of the most successful self-made billionaire women in America, if not the world, we have to address who are the players that are involved in this game that can also be exploited for the sake of funneling all of this money and attention and opportunity to these talentless girls that I keep on describing to you and validate this dynasty. Because one thing I'll tell you right here, the Kardashians could have been just like Duck Dynasty. We get a couple of good seasons, a couple of good clips. It means absolutely nothing to the general aspect of society other than like some kind of cheap entertainment. But no, there's a real like industry push behind this team. And it is the lizard genes that sit inside of Kris Jenner. It is the lizard gene that aligns with the emotion called ambition that sits inside other very powerful business tycoons, and the one that we're describing here, Kris Jenner. And really, in my analysis of this lady, I'm going to believe that she's kind of like a little Machiavellian, if you want to be honest. And I say that to say my way or the highway type energy. Very much so. But super strategic about it. And that's why, like, I understand this whole entire videos or this whole entire podcast is probably going to be assumed as like defamation or like hating on her. But I hope that if I ever become somebody who's like famous enough to have a conversation with somebody like that behind closed doors, like off camera, I genuinely want to understand what type of business this lady runs, bro, and like how she was able to tie so much of her own experience and expertise into creating such a machine like this. Because I'm telling you right now, they are, if there even is one, the first family of social media, if not the royal family of social media. And you can't be somebody who's been on social media, especially over the past 10 years, especially when Instagram and all that was coming out. There's no way you didn't know who these people are. There's no way you don't know who these people are. And that's absolutely insane, one. But again, that's amazing. And of course, it's not a one-man army. It's not a solo person or a solo party game that's going to win at this level or scale to this level like the Kardashian dynasty has. We have to attribute the players that are in this game at least some kind of responsibility to them, because whether it's their ignorance, it's their fetish, it's their desire, all play a role in making sure that this system is not only successful, but perpetuated so much so to a point where they can basically automate their celebrity and just do whatever the fuck they want, because they're never going to lose the status that they've built for themselves. Those people are, and again, I don't, call me what you want, but I say things as they are. And I also refer to people's identities exactly as I see them in my brain. And if you want me to refer to you as something else, just let me know and I will. But until then, I say what I see. The first identity of person that plays in this Kardashian game. Remember I called them sirens, right? This is going to make sense in a second here. Billionaires, business people, the industry leaders. For the conversation we're going to have today, we're going to assume that those people, for the most part, are the white dudes. Through this conversation, I'm not just saying, oh, white dudes are rich, black dudes are poor. For this conversation, I want you to see, for the specific class of billionaires I'm speaking about old money America, I'm speaking about European money, I'm speaking about Eastern European money, I'm speaking about white generational money in the West. And when I speak about this next group of people, I'm speaking about the marginalized people who are coming from the bottom seeking opportunity. But it's important we establish the role that these people play in this, the billionaire whites, that we'll call them. Because since that demographic of people has hoarded so much money, they are the final decision maker for much of the change and much of the direction that happens in this country. So if anything is allowed to be successful, I'm telling you right now, for longer than 2 or 3 years, it's because it is being supported directly by this billionaire whites class, or it is being leveraged as a vehicle to influence the people who do consume what is being sold to them. In this case, the Kardashians are definitely used as a vehicle. But that demographic is a very tight-knit network, especially at the top of society. So, which is very interesting, because if you know one person who works for a top modeling firm, then you're going to know somebody who works for a top fashion brand, and you'll know somebody who works for, you'll know the top photographer who works for this person who just shot pictures for Vogue, and this and this and this and this, and it's all like a very nepotistic, that's probably not a word, forgive me for that, very enmeshed network, in-group. I don't even want to call it a network. So if you aren't somebody that is just naturally being chosen by these billionaires to be like their wives, because I guess they don't really care about women outside of that, then you have to present yourself as somebody who they can desire, but you can't be exploited fully by them. Because if you're exploited by them, then they'll just throw you away and then find a new version of you in somebody else, because they can just buy it. But you have to be desirable enough to be seen by the billionaire and even picked, but not desirable enough to be used by the billionaire in a way that will get you thrown away or discarded for somebody new or fresher than you. That's something that Kris Jenner knew to a fucking T. And that's something that I give her a lot of respect for. Now, the next demographic of people that play in this game, although maybe a little bit further from the billionaire whites, are the BBC celebrities. I apologize. We're talking about the Kardashians. Everybody knows that they have a fetish. It's not even an attraction. This is a fetish for black people, black men specifically, and stealing culture from black women. But we call these guys the BB celebrities, the athletes, the rappers, the trappers, the people who think that they're getting on, but they really aren't on. They're just used to promote this degenerate culture of blackness to show in mainstream that the only thing that we are other than slaves to these people are entertainers. But what's even worse is that more times than not, these athletes and these marginalized celebrities, they're not even actually celebrities, like built off of their own foundation and leveraging the investment that they're taking from these billionaire whites to actually build on their own. They're literally just being given loans, excessive amounts of loans, and then kept completely financially illiterate. So they end up going in debt off of those loans and are constantly forced to, in reverse, work their way back to the millions that they thought they had for the sake of bringing that money back to the billionaire who loaned them money in an already disadvantaged position. Like when you're poor, you need a little bit of a loan over in short terms over a long period of time until you learn how to use money. Small amounts of money gradually increasing over a long period of time, learning how to leverage investment, learning how to be patient, learning how to spend properly, learning how when you fuck up money, it can ruin a lot more than just your ability to have a good day. You don't give poor people a ton of money and absolutely no systems, no standards, and no support in making sure that that money can not only stay there, but that money can invest in creating more than just that. This is another theory that I have as to, or that pertains to a theory that I have as to why athletes are given egregious, ridiculous amounts of money in their contract, but they're not given the support that it would take to actually allow them to be financially literate and be to increase the financial abundance in their actual communities or the place that they came from. Because then more kids would realize, oh, I can just work one job that pays me $100,000 a year, or maybe even $150,000 a year, and invest that money properly and pay my bills on time and leverage investments and other types of trading portfolios and real estate and ownership. I can just leverage that and literally be a millionaire in 10 years, 20 years. What? And I can even run a business on the side. I can go on vacations. I can travel once a year, twice a year. I can engage with my local community. Like, what? And I don't need to be a rapper who goes on shows every single night, is taking drugs every night, is having sex with new girls every single night. I don't have to be an athlete who's sitting there literally like a god to some people, but then I go back to like do regular human stuff and I can't even do them on my own. I don't have to be negotiating slave contracts for other people's entertainment just to be heckled at by people who couldn't even get on the floor and compete for 2 minutes with me. You gotta sit here and think, bro. Like, it's all meant to play on the ignorance and the desperation of the person who isn't willing to just be patient enough to see what the right decision is and is just willing to make any decision to get out of the circumstance that they're in. But as it pertains to this conversation, the BB celebrities that we're talking about, more times than not, have either been raised in very traumatic circumstances or very stereotypical or stereotypically indoctrinating circumstances to where they are negatively taught and educated on their own community, negatively taught on how to respect the women in their community and their peers in their community or people with the same skin tone as them. I'm speaking to us, black people. So when we do get wealthy and famous and all this stuff that we never had access to for just being general people in society, because, you know, our blackness kept us away from that, we start to think that we have to go above and beyond to chase the validation of these people that have finally accepted us in a community, as if they just didn't care about us beyond what we're able to serve them as being a part of this now. And I think that pertains to, now mind you, there's some people, I don't believe that preferences exist. I think that people are just racist as fuck, and they're just trying to like validate their racism behind saying that like, oh, I think that these girls look better than these girls, or I think that this skin tone is like shut the fuck up, bro. Like, there is beautiful women of every single skin tone, bro. We all know that, bro. Everybody knows there's like every group demographic of people has beautiful women, bro. You're just a hater and you're racist as fuck and you have like unresolved trauma. And I hope that everybody who acts like that and is hearing this, I hope you take this to heart, because I'm right, bro, and you're wrong, bro. Go talk to a therapist about it, I swear. But that trauma that we have, especially as a black people, the hatred of black women, the hatred of our own skin tone, in our own community, leads us to not only pursuing and praising, pedestaling women of other communities, not even because we actually like them, but in spite of the women in our community, just to make them hate themselves even more. But we end up creating this really weird, for lack of a better term, standard of black features on a non-black body. And then we get these non-black people to do things like start going to the gym or start eating yams or something other than what they naturally do, to have bodies that are very reflective of black women, but we just don't turn to the black women in our communities and respect and appreciate them for what they already are. Like, how much of a mind fuck do you think that's got to be when you are what is being told is desirable, but you're not, because there's like a shell on top of you that means you're not desirable. And you didn't control or come to this earth controlling what color shell you came in. You just happen to be here. And mind you, not even just that, there's a whole bunch of other cooler, intangible things like your personality, your identity, your ideas, your beliefs, your dreams, your visions, your goals, that are all way cooler than just leaving your value at the color of your skin or how exploitative you can be exploited for your body. Now, this is another thing that I feel Kris Jenner understood very well. This hatred, one, just purely of black women, but the desire, like the fetishistic desire that white men have of black women, but they're not allowed to because it makes white women insecure. So they try to hold white women up to a standard of either black features, quote unquote, exotic features, or they hold white women to a standard to make them look like little boys so they don't have to actually feel exposed in liking little boys. But this punishes everybody. This, like, black features on non-black bodies or black features on non-black faces punishes everybody, because we're creating this very streamlined standard of beauty to a point where we're not even allowing the diversity of beauty to be appreciated, in the sense that maybe somebody's like hip dips are sexy. Maybe somebody's nose ring is sexy. Maybe the way that somebody stands or the way that somebody looks or the way that somebody this is sexy. It is to somebody, but if you stop them from being able to appreciate that, they can't even appreciate that in themselves. If you stop them from being able to look at themselves beyond what society is validating immediately, and to see that there is value here, there is light here, there is something to love here, you just make it more and more and more and more difficult for people to be able to reach any kind of standard, which the one we're trying to get to is self-acceptance. But when you're trying to sell products behind an illusion of a beauty standard, you have to make the beauty standard absolutely fucking impossible to achieve, to where if anybody could even actually achieve it, it's only the wealthiest people that could achieve it. Now, how does this all apply to the Kardashians, the Instagram, the influence, and our society? The BBL stuff. Mind you, BBLs have been going on. And mind you, I haven't done my research on BBLs. I do like seeing them, but I haven't done my research on BBLs too much. But one thing I do know is that BBLs have been a thing since before Kris Jenner and decided to put her daughters through that process. But it's this knowing that not only are the Kardashians like you're a light-skinned archetype. You're not actually light-skinned, but you're a light-skinned exotic archetype. You have grown up in a suburb, so you basically behave like white women, but your bodies are altered to look like black women. It's this perfect trifecta of all the wants of a male gaze, especially even the aspects of the wants of a male gaze that aren't allowed to be publicized in our white supremacist society, that it creates the impossible standard for girls to follow, because think about this, like there's no amount of workouts you can do at the gym that is going to give you a BBL behind. There's no amount of push-ups or whatever you want to do that's going to give you like that type of internet chest. This is me just speaking human to human, beyond the digital psychosis. There is no amount of supplements you can take. There is no amount of drug you can take that they'll sell you. There is no amount of healing, meditation, of freaking Reiki, massage therapy. There is nothing that you can do that will give you what a BBL will give you. That's why you have to pay for it. And that's why it's so damn expensive. And what's even crazier, and then why I want to keep on just hounding on this point so much, is because going on a gym journey with the intention of creating a BBL body is going to disappoint you so much, because you're supposed to go into the gym to not only learn to love to exercise and to take care of yourself and to commit to a process, but the body type that you have because of the gym or because of being fit or active may not even be in alignment with the BBL body. And the BBL bodies that are being sold to you on Instagram and all that are either bought or they're naturally genetic to the people who have them. And the people who have them were always going to have that body. They just had to go to the gym for like however certain amount of time, or they just had to lose a little bit of weight around it. But it was always going to be there. And you aren't that close to having that. But they make it look so good that like, oh, well, if I just eat the same things they do and do the same workouts they do, of course I can have that thing that they have. And I believe that the Kardashians, if we could punish them for anything, it's by making desirability politics so fucked up and so impossible to achieve that they basically created their own significance. After being absolutely talentless, the significance is the fact that they've created a beauty standard that is impossible to achieve. So if you want that, you can only access it through them. Think about how ridiculously lucrative that is. Like, this isn't just like a porn star, or this isn't just like an OnlyFans girl or something that you just pay money to. This is a branded identity that is like, you can't even build this body. You literally can't even build this body naturally. Oh, what I'm trying to say, because you can't. Like that's what they did. But you naturally cannot access this. So if you can't, what I keep on repeating, you're just going to keep on being on this hamster wheel, chasing whatever the next solution they throw at you is, which is going to, again, make another sale, another check in their pocketbook, while selling you another dream that's going to give you nothing but probably health issues, mental health issues, on top of all that, and emotional dysregulation, and then make you hate yourself even more for not being able to reach a standard that was already impossible. And again, I want to make sure before I conclude the BB celebrities issue, validating all of this sick standard that women have to follow, we even turn away from the women in our own communities. And I want to make this about more than just like, oh, well, the women in our community have those bodies. Like we have BBL bodies at home. So like, we don't need to go to McDonald's and get BBL. What I'm trying to say is that, and this will make a lot more sense the deeper we get into this conversation as it pertains to entrepreneurship and the creator economy. But we have literally taken away actual economic and lifestyle opportunity away from people in our community, our own Black women, from maybe even being able to build brands around Black women that are more than them just being rich and spending money, but actually being influential, world-changing leaders. We've sacrificed everything that we've had the potential to allow Black women to be based on our collective support and investment for the sake of chasing our dicks following the Kardashians, who again provide no value, not even to the industry that they've become billionaires in. There is not a single book or a single documentary that can be written or made about these people that will contribute positively to anything or anybody's psyche as it pertains to the world we're about to walk into and the reality of the world as it exists apart from digital psychosis and social media. And a very, very, very interesting perspective that I've come up with. Now, I'm going to be revealing a truth here that I probably shouldn't be telling anybody, but you guys have to know because I'm real, you're not, so that's just the truth of it all. I'm not sure how known this is in the white community or how popular of a conversation this is in the white community, but as an avid consumer of... Actually, I'm not even an avid consumer. Forgive me. I just had to say that because I heard that on like a TV show. As somebody who has consumed PORN before, and who's actually done an extensive amount of like real world research on the industry and just like sex work as a whole, one thing that keeps coming up is the fetish that, and this isn't even just like an old white dude thing. I'll explain my theory as to what this fetish is because I've been asked to participate in this before, but I've politely declined. There's a fetish of cuckery, or like white men seeing black men, for lack of a better term, plow their wives. And if not that, just like another white woman. And I'm not sure what the legality is around this type of conversation because I'm not even sure what the intention is with that. And it's that type of energy and those types of emotion are very, very, very deeply rooted and very personal to the human. So I'm not sure how to correct that. And I don't even know, I don't really have a problem with it as long as people are safe and they're engaging in those situations with respect to everybody who's involved. But another aspect as to why I was even able to come up with this type of theory leads back to the specific nature that in that Ray J and Kim K tape, the need to use a black man in there. Now, I understand how you guys say, well, they just like black dudes and like that just happened to be like a person in there. I genuinely believe that tape, because that was inspired, the creation of that, we can all understand at this point, like that was inspired by Paris Hilton accidentally leaking a tape, and then look how famous she got for also being famous for no reason. That tape, specifically the Kim K. Ray J one, was meant to play on top of this interracial fantasy that exists in America that these wealthier or like top of the line white dudes want to exact or exploit or just like participate in indirectly. Even that is a very, very, I mean, it's malicious fundamentally because it's your child at the end of the day. And that's one of the issues that I had with the whole entire situation. Like, you're willing to leak a video of your child, I don't care how old she was, child, intimately as a means of like detouring yourself to fame and stardom. Like there's a certain level of morals that momagers and parental managers just absolutely don't have, and respect for their children that happens to be absent, that I constantly want to reinforce. So I'm not the one that's looked at in the wrong for exposing this, but we can look at the actual parents who are doing this and see, maybe this is just bad news all the way around. And this is a pretty good conversation to have. But it's not just, you couldn't just make that video with a white dude. You couldn't just make that. You had to fully go all the way in on the fantasy. Now, mind you, do I think a little bit of that fantasy was Kris Jenner's? Yes, I do. Is that very, very sick? And am I alleging that because it's not a fact? Yes, and yes. But we have to truly look at this from a business perspective. It's not just a viral video. We're trying to make the viral video because these are talentless girls, mind you. Wasn't Kim like a stylist for Brandy? I have a whole other podcast about how we've just done Brandy so wrong in this world. And the fact that Kim Kardashian is a billionaire and Brandy is not a billionaire is a perfect sign as to why we're living in the sunken place right now, and we are not living anywhere near a reality worth living in. And now the final aspect of this infrastructure, of this system, infinite money glitch, which truly is what we're describing here. It's not a man, surprisingly, even though if that's where the money's coming from. We also have to manipulate women into believing that this is a real system and that this isn't a madame pimping out her children to billionaires, executives, and wealthy business owners to, on the back end, make herself a billionaire, but on the front end, make her talentless daughters worldwide celebrities doing whatever they want, even if they are absolutely not qualified to do so. Absolutely not qualified to do so. Now, you guys may come after me for this. You guys may hate me for this. And if you do, just know I love you anyway. And I will be patient enough to wait for you to join us again when you realize that there is truth to what I'm saying here. But it will hurt. White women feminism. White women feminism is the culture that fuels the validation of the Kardashian-Jenner empire. Now, you guys are going to say, why did you have to say white women? Why couldn't you just say feminine? No. I have to include this aspect because in all the research that I've done, even in the conversations that are had from Black women entrepreneurs and just the community entrepreneurship as it pertains to Black people versus entrepreneurship and especially influencing as it pertains to white women, completely different perspectives, completely different intentions, and the goals, the margins of success are a lot different. But it's the Kardashians not only selling this ridiculously lavish lifestyle that anybody, like not even just a woman, but any person would fall in love with. It's them selling this illusion as if they are business people when at best they're affiliate marketers and network marketers, and at worst they're just escorts in a reality that doesn't have to call escorts escorts. They're just escorts who personal branded themselves in a way to where they could actually negotiate their deals instead of constantly being run off on, which happens to a lot of escorts, bro. Now, let's have a little thought experiment here. If the term Instagram model didn't exist and Instagram also didn't exist, and you couldn't broadcast yourself on a platform like that, like that whole concept of reality vanished, what would those people be other than actual models or escorts? That's the one thing that like the internet did. Not even the one thing. It's one of many things the internet had participated in, is destroying our society. But it enmeshed so many different careers, if you want to call them, that so many people. Kim Kardashian created this illusion of an opportunity for anybody to find globalized success or international recognition for just taking pics on your phone and staying up with the trends and being cool and hanging out with the right people. But do you know how many people pursue the Instagram modeling lifestyle and end up falling into the escorting or the OnlyFans pipeline? Not even 5 years in. And now you've stamped something on your resume. You've stamped a career move for your lifetime. And again, I'm not speaking down on anybody because I have friends who are OnlyFans models. I have friends who are actual porn stars. So this isn't me speaking down on the community, but as we'll get into it a little later in this pod, which is not too far, because we'll get into it at some point. It's this my way or the highway, by any means necessary, that has been leveraged to create this empire, which I can commend Kris Jenner, but has also exploited people's ignorance, exploited people's naivete, exploited people's trust and belief in the products that you sell, in the information that you promote, in the ideas that you share, for personal gain and for profit. And just doing it so much, just selling so many scams, just being at the front of so many lies and so much controversy that we just accept it to be a part of your identity rather than this is a reason, just further justification as to why we should never trust any business decision you make or anything you say. And if we don't get ourselves out of this digital psychosis that we're living in, we are going to continue to create celebrities out of nothingness, like Kim Kardashian and all of them, to influence and drive our society down into hell rather than actually be influenced and inspired by people who share something that can be applied to positively develop people's lives in the real world, not just force people to buy shit they don't need on social media so they can be somebody that they'll never be like on social media, to just keep them further away from being able to accept themselves for who they are and being able to leverage the inspiration they're getting off of social media into positively influencing, at least changing the world that they're living in the real world. Because if we're not using it for that, then we're sacrificing our real world to live on these digital platforms. And that is what should scare you more than anything. The reason why I had to include not only the white women feminism, but the girl boss thing is because I want us, especially for the ladies in my community, I want you guys to know that business ownership and entrepreneurship, there's so many ways you can do it. You shouldn't only need to look up to Instagram model as like the only way of owning a business or like being an influencer. There's so many ways you can promote products for brands. There's so many ways you can influence and you can build communities. There's so many ways you can be the leader. And I want to make sure that we're keeping in our community, all of us who have access to our humanity have the ability to be the fullness of who we are. But it starts with making sure that we're keeping our mind open and we're allowing our inspiration to be real and the information they're giving us to be applicable to our lives and what we want to do. Stop allowing the life that they're living or the life that they're really marketing, the money that they have, the bank account, stop allowing that to be the influence. Let who they are be the influence. Let what they do, let their intentions be what influences you, what inspires you. Because that's what you have access to at the end of the day. You might not have access to the cars. You might not have access to date the same people. You might not have access to be at the same parties. You might not have access to live in the same house. But what you do have access to is to go within yourself, to dig in your own heart and to find out who you genuinely want to be and what you're willing to do to make that a reality. And using this body to craft that reality and to become the person that gets to live in that life. And that can be a whole unique story full of experiences, full of relationships, full of connections that only come from following your heart and staying authentic to that, rather than constantly trying to wait for whatever Kim's going to do next, whoever Kylie Jenner is going to date next, whenever Khloe Kardashian is going to take Tristan back. We need to let these people exist in their own echo chamber. Let them be thankful that they got rich off selling us dreams and being talentless, and just let them go, bruh. Let them enjoy the riches that they have. But force them to deal with it without our attention so we can focus our attention on what genuinely inspires us to be everything we could be, not just them. Because at the end of the day, if you know the reality of it all, you might not even want to be them. You don't understand, and for a lot of people, again, there's a lot of people just in general who think there's like a dream of marrying billionaires and being a part of this like upper echelon society. A lot of people don't understand how many of these billionaire wives are getting cheated on, bro. Every single day. A lot of people don't understand that. And even if that's not happening, your husband is working 24 hours a day straight up, and you are literally just like an assistant at best to this empire that is happening beyond you. The things that you have, like every single person in every point in their life has their own level of problems and has their own struggle and stress. You have to be willing to put up with yours from whatever position you're at, because you might find out that the struggle and stress you're dealing with from the position you're in is not nearly as bad as the kind of shit and expectations that you have in a position like these Kardashians and Jenners. But it's because they're not telling you that and showing you what's really going in on it, which is what's convincing you that they're not living a hard life, or even worse, you want to do what they do because it seems easier than actually taking responsibility for your own circumstances. Now are you seeing how the whole entire system works? You finally understand what type of people we're working with. We're going to have a mom who sees the importance of being able to raise her daughters into a position to where they can start to become marketable or start to build these brands and start to execute her mission of a financial business empire, and then recognizes the flaws. Literally, this is exactly why I called them the sirens of social media. Sometimes I wish California started with an S so I could say the sirens of Scalifornia. But the reason why I call them that is because whether it's the individual daughter's intentions or not, which I don't believe it is, I believe they're fully following the script of their mother. Each of them make sure to position themselves like a parasite to suck up all the value they can get from the person that they're in relationship with. And if not do that, they are going to put themselves next to a person who is a part of the limelight long enough to then center themselves from the position of indirect fame that they have to continue to validate themselves and give themselves relevance. Now, when you get a brand deal to do a TV show, that allows you to cultivate your own relevance while manufacturing stories, telling lies, doing like false drama and all this made up bullshit. So, having your own in-house production and basically marketing vehicle allows you to not have to dive so deeply into escorting. Wealthy people call that yachting, but that's another conversation. And thank goodness social media exists and came up at that same time. Now you can build an audience of basically like an email list of an audience of people who are willing to subscribe to whatever lifestyle you're selling them. And then through that, sell them products and validate yourself as a business person. At best, at worst, you're just a marketer. But now we don't have to focus on why are you so rich and famous for no reason at all. Like now there's like a valid reason as to why you are hanging around. You're touching elbows with the prince and with this executive of this company. But you don't have anything. Like you didn't start anything. You didn't build anything. You didn't collaborate with anyone to create anything cool. It's nothing. It's almost like how a lot of rap careers are funded by drug money, but the second you start making legal money by doing shows, and for some people getting money on streams, you can then start laundering your drug money through the show money, or start integrating it into the show money, and then act as if you're making all this money through doing shows and making music, but 75% of that money is made off selling like crack and heroin to people in the audience after those shows. And that even creates this ridiculous standard for people who are in the hood and like would desire to pursue rap careers, or even people who are in the streets and desire to be athletes. When you see the people that you look up to wearing these chains and driving these nice cars and doing all this stuff, but nobody knows that shit's leased. Nobody knows that shit's stolen. Nobody knows that that's fake. And you get people, regular people, believing in illusions, doing real world damage to their real world lives, chasing illusions from the internet that aren't even real. Pertains to everybody, bro. And this is why I want us to make sure that as we're having this conversation, we're looking at this from a position of just our own ignorant, infantilized humanity, and not, oh, well, men this, women this. Like, really look at this from the position that you're in. And if you're ignorant enough, vulnerable enough to be preyed on by somebody who's willing to see that desperation and give you false opportunity for your belief or your commitment, it can happen to any of us. And this is why it's important we have these conversations so we can take care of each other and make sure that we stay out of those circumstances and live a life on the other side of intentional choices that we make for ourselves and our well-being. Now, the final double-edged sword that I have, or I guess the nail in the coffin, if you want to call it that, I'm assuming that's the word I'm trying to find, is how do content creators as a whole, if they aren't providing us any real value to positively influence our real lives, what are they doing? Like, what could be happening? Because we're not going to assume, we're not going to be stupid enough to assume that if you're not having some kind of positive impact on social media, you're just not having any impact at all. There's definitely negative impact, or at least opportunity for a negative impact, in every instance that you aren't being positively influenced, because something is happening at all times. Now, this is a little bit more of an existential play, and I don't attribute this to the Kardashians. I just believe they were able to make their money out of being internet celebrities, and they are being compensated, and have been compensated very, very, very well for keeping people on these digital platforms. But not only did they participate in influencing a ridiculously impossible beauty standard paradox, but on top of the time spent on these social media platforms, I don't just want to blame like black people, black men, because anybody is at the mercy of this. When you start to spend so much time on these internet platforms and start to give validation to the signs of validation that are given, or the tokens of acceptance and validation that are given on here through likes and comments and views and follows, you forget that the information being fed to you online isn't real. And it hasn't been tested by reality yet, which you would have to if you were living in the real world. Many people don't say the things that they don't genuinely believe are true in reality or have been tested by reality. So what I believe, not only did these Instagram models, did they drag people's attention and keep us on these platforms that we don't even really like to use for the most part, especially the meta platforms, which also makes me want to talk about the whole like epidemic of basically Meta and Twitter. The only content they show in the Explore page, I don't know if this is just for guys or this is for everybody, but the only content that they show in the Explore page is half naked OnlyFans girls. I don't follow a single, okay. I'm going to snitch on myself here. I do follow like 2. But out of like the 800 people that I have on there, there's art people, there's fitness people, there's entrepreneurs, there's chefs, there's cannabis influencers. Like, how come I don't see any of those people in my Explore page? How come it's only girls in lingerie on my Explore page? Like, I don't even like the pictures when I come across them. And now let me finalize the conclusion that I've gotten to. We're being drugged deeper and deeper and deeper onto social media with, and again, it's not the fault of these people, not the OnlyFans girls or the escorts or anybody. The tech companies are using the attraction, the natural attraction that comes from the eye to the naked body, and keeping us on the platform long enough to then indoctrinate us through our own algorithm, meaning that we are also taking part in our own ignorance and our own indoctrination, influencing us to stay in these individualized echo chambers of ignorance to protect our insecurities and stop us from going out into the world and constantly having our ideas competed against, constantly throwing our ideas into the fire, or at least testing them in reality to make sure that we aren't holding on for our dear lives to illusions and things that are protecting our insecurity rather than allowing us to grow in intelligence and actually be somebody more than our ignorance is limiting us to be. And Zuckerberg also works by this by any means possible too, which is very sad for how many people have been consequenced by his initiative in that way. But there is definitely an initiative to get people, I don't know if it's men or boys or everybody, but there's an initiative to get people so purely addicted, instinctually addicted to social media to prepare us, like rubbing the, forgive me, I shouldn't say that. Preparing, like warming us up to spend 16 to 24 hours a day in this metaverse. There's more addictive features that are added, more exploitative features, more exploitative design, added, but there's less and less and less actual value being provided to the user of these platforms. This is exactly why I'm creating my own platform. Hope you guys can go check that out. That's going to be on the YouTube as well. This is why I'm building my own platform. But all of this is to We made a talentless person a billionaire just because they were able to have the infrastructure, the ingenuity, and the intention to make it happen in spite of everything. Even in the face of reality, they were still going to make it happen. And a consequence of that is not only our impossible beauty standard, our rejection of the real world beyond BBLs and Botox, but now we are walking ourselves backwards off a boardwalk into a digital addiction that will lead to a handful, like literally a new generation of mental health issues for people with internet addiction and all types of stuff. But fundamentally leave the internet to be what the mainstream media through like public broadcast and television couldn't reach, which is enter the psyche of the victim, which is the user, and then basically become the victim's inner critic, so much so to where the inner critic of the tech platform, which is going to be the algorithm, feeds off of the algorithm for real and attaches, literally using the body like a medium to attach the awareness and the attention directly to these tech platforms and just create an infinite loop of technology addiction until the person is just so convenienced out of being able to take responsibility for their own lives. It's like you see everyday people living in elderly-like states because they're so apart from what life is like without technology, without digital psychosis, without AI assistance and accommodations. So this is not just about the Kardashians. This is not just about influencers and like covering up of escort culture or any of that. This is about fundamentally the digital psychosis that has been validated much so, very much so by the Kardashians. But this digital world and reality that we are collectively perpetuating and validating by existing on these platforms, and one, not fighting for their regulations, or two, at best, just moving to other platforms, or at 2B, creating better platforms that will actually do something to positively impact the real world we live in, rather than constantly making the real world we live in a more unsafe place to create more long-term, like lifetime users on these platforms, while also making a world that can only be accessible in safety and accessibility to wealthy people. Even if we're all human beings living in this real world. Half of us are addicted to our phones. Another 25% of people don't know what a phone is. Another 25% of people are one way, 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Some people in here, some people in here. So it's all a big play. And the only person who really sees it all is the person who's willing to see every single person involved in the game who's trying to get something out of it for themselves. Because it seems like they're all playing their own different game. But once you strap up all the transactions together, you see this is a whole system, a whole economic system that is going down. And Kris Jenner is one of the absolute most intelligent people to craft something like this. Especially, she's crafted it to a point where she literally can't even get punished for creating something like this by the means that an Epstein or a Ghislaine Maxwell would get punished, because these are her kids at the end of the day. So she owns them. So this isn't trafficking because she owns them, and she is the mom, the rights owner to these children, but she's also the business manager. So she's on top of that, the secondary rights owner to these children. So unless the kids want to actually run away from being celebrities, having access to whatever friends, whatever relationships, whatever, not even that, whatever sex they want, whatever really gifts money can buy, are you going to sacrifice all of that to compete against your mom and call her like a child trafficker or something? You get to do whatever you want, wear whatever clothes you want, go hang out with whatever you want, sleep with whoever you want. Nobody's going to call you any sick names on the other end of that. Because your PR team is ridiculous in a positive way. Like, would you turn from a cult that is literally has allowed you so much privilege and power that the only thing that could go wrong is you being kicked out of it or you choosing to leave? So this is why conversations like this will only come from like I think regular everyday people who have ideas and think critically about the world. But again, a lot of people, and I'm a victim of this. I am a fan of that show, Keeping Up with the Kardashians, and I don't even know why to this point. I don't even know why. I'm just a fan. But to just not spend so much time figuring that out is probably because it's just so absolutely ridiculous that you don't get this from anywhere else. You don't get that kind of... It's like selling rich to regular people, but so perfectly palatable to regular people that it just makes sense to exist. And it's interesting to know that people actually live a life where they have to create problems to be relatable to other people who are enslaved to having problems and suffering that they probably can't even control. It's amazing. It's amazing. A philosophical masterpiece. Keeping Up with the Kardashians, it is. Now, as we conclude this video, I know you guys are probably going to be asking, Dark Wizard, how are you so sexy? No, I'm playing. I know you guys are going to be asking, well, what's the solution to this? I know you just spent the past hour telling us the problem, but we need answers, gang. Like, we can't just sit here and circle jerk problems all day. And to that, I absolutely agree with you. But it's going to come in steps, and it's going to come with a lot of us waking up from this digital psychosis with the intention of pursuing roles that can actually be applied to society. We're done with the age of, well, we got paid to do it, so we're going to do it. We have to do things with intention and appreciate being compensated on the back end of them. We don't do anything for the hope of anymore. We do things with the intention of getting things done. And that's going to come with, again, grounding ourselves from the digital psychosis, the digital reality, and humbling ourselves and our community members to realize, hey, not everybody can be an influencer. Not everybody can be a YouTuber. Not everybody can be a Twitch streamer, whatever else. Hey, definitely not everybody can be an OnlyFans girl. Definitely not everybody can be that. But our society functions so much better when everybody has an opportunity to be something that can afford them an opportunity to live, take care of themselves, and contribute to the community that they're participating in. We need electricians, we need plumbers, we need doctors, we need teachers, we need politicians even. But in our grounding, or at least our attempt to ground from digital psychosis, let us find the value and the significance of all the working parts and the human functions of our society and find ways to align the opportunity with that, create opportunity within that for young people to realize, hey, I can be this real thing in the real world, and then I can leverage my social media, my personal brand on here to find more opportunity, to connect with more customers, to collaborate with other people in my space so I can do better work for the people that I'm serving. We need to allow this digital world to actually be a tool that makes our real world a better place rather than hiding within the digital world to hope that it can be a better world or provide better circumstances than our real world is affording us. Again, I'm glad that the Trump administration already did this shit, so I don't have to be the one to say it first. But that segregation thing is going to be probably one of the best things that's ever happened for the black community in this entire country's history. Again, you guys may say, oh, yeah, that's crazy. That's what segregation? All is one. All lives matter. Like, nah. The federal government has decided that nobody who makes less than $1 million a year matters. Fuck your race, fuck your ethnicity, fuck everything. You don't matter if you make less than $1 million a year. All this other, the hatred of black people, hatred of women, hatred of gays, hatred of transgenders, it's all just to get you to stop seeing wealthy people are bending every single one of us over and having their way with anybody whenever they want. And that's the society they're creating. And now they have authority over the jurisdiction of this country, legislation of this country, to basically free themselves from any accountability, which is basically the only thing that oppresses them, other than their own weirdness. So I'm not just sitting here saying, like, racial segregation or anything. Wink, 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 wink. But what I am saying is go check out on my YouTube channel. I have this app that I'm building called Tribal, and I genuinely believe that is going to be the future of community building in a world beyond the enmeshment, the severe enmeshment and individualization that has happened, or individualism that has happened because of social media and us forcing people onto these social media platforms, and then also psychologically manipulating them into becoming addicted onto these platforms and the experience they're having on them, no matter how traumatizing they are in their real lives. So Tribal is an opportunity to facilitate organization of communities and consciousness on the digital world. I believe that's a global project, even more so than Meta. But that's going to be our start. That's going to be the first. And I also believe that is going to be the opportunity. That's going to connect people who literally don't even have access to technology or social media. That is an opportunity to even inspire them to get logged on and for them to participate in making sure that if we genuinely want to make a one-of-one world of reality, we have to include as many people who've experienced reality into creating real information on this in this digital universe. Or else we're going to be at the mercy of whoever has just garnered the most amount of validation and attention, even if that doesn't align with their intellect or doesn't align with the information they can share with the world to be applied to something. The foundation is going to be reorganizing and re-understanding how we create and how we cultivate communities and the connections within them. Beyond that, the next couple of things that will be very important as to how we can take the past 10, 15, 20 years of this like social media brigade and turn it into something worth benefiting our community, especially like me, like us black people, because I'm black, if you didn't know that. Black screen, black man, black everything, black suburban. The three important aspects that we're going to have to take as it pertains to influencing, and I don't even want to call it that anymore, it's the creator economy. It's not only being creators in the economy that get to sell ads off of our TikToks and off of our YouTube videos. It's not only collaborating with other creators and rappers and whatnot. It's about owning the businesses on the back end that also need the promoters, and then leveraging our content creators who are probably young people who are talented, who are creative, who can think of new ideas on the fly. How about you have people who are in industry, business owners and their employees, who respect their employees, because you don't need labor unions when you respect your employees. How about those business owners connect with the future in these content creators, in these podcasters, give them an opportunity to showcase themselves, to start their brands while still feeding into new generations of audiences to keep these businesses alive. And from that, you're giving business owners opportunity through entrepreneurship. You give employment opportunity through that entrepreneurship, and you give an independent contractor opportunity to people who don't even work for the traditional company, the brick and mortar, but you create an additional opportunity digitally for people in your community that just care about the brand to market the brand. And the reason why it's important to own the businesses behind these brand deals is because, you know, the reason why a lot of black people aren't getting paid the same as their white counterparts when it comes to brand deals? Because we don't cultivate white audiences. These businesses are selling to white people. So of course they're going to give more money to Alex Earl than they're going to give to what's another than Dr. Taylor. I'm pretty sure that's her name. But I'm guaranteeing you they're going to give more money to Alex Earl. I've seen 1,000 Alex Earls in my entire life. I'm only 23 years old. I could go to the bar every single weekend for the rest of the year and find 10 girls every single weekend that look exactly like Alex Earl. And that's not even me hating, bro. This is just me being dead honest. Like, they get us to compete as a means of who's getting the higher brand deals, who's getting more money, who's getting more exposure. But it's a circumstantial opportunity. It's a circumstantial reference. Like if that was a black business, they would probably choose the black marketer if they could afford the black marketer because they're selling it to black people. And if not black people, they're selling it to whoever else black people inspire, which is damn near everybody else. But because we don't own the businesses, they don't even care about serving our people. They're serving themselves, and they're just using us to serve themselves. And whichever of us in our community are dumb enough to want to be included in their community by having access to whatever's being marketed to us. It's important that we own the business because we create opportunity of employment and of internal economic growth as much as providing opportunity to people to just contribute in even short-term means outside of our community. And on top of that, check this out. And this is something that I've just been studying as it pertains to my own brand. But in a world where we don't have these social media platforms that are absolutely just destroying social culture and like the collective conscious, podcasters run radio shows. Vloggers run TV shows. Social media content creators do marketing ads. Like there are real industries and real jobs and real careers on the back end of these things that you call yourself because you refuse to see them in this long term or in this grander scale than you've been given the opportunity to see them as. That's just a YouTuber. That's just a Twitch streamer. Like, no, maybe you're an actual show host. Maybe you are an actual leader of an organization. Maybe you're not just a influencer. But it's you dumbing yourself down to these titles and these labels that mean nothing. Leaving yourself at the mercy of the validation that they're willing to give you, even if it's crumbs, because you're afraid, because you don't know how to negotiate, because you don't understand the true value that comes behind your influence and your brand, because maybe you're seeking out opportunities in completely wrong environments with people who don't even know how to appreciate or leverage the brand that you've built. And again, I think it's the creator economy is one of the most amazing opportunities that I've ever seen in my entire life for average, everyday, run-of-the-mill people to just start making videos and genuinely not only build their own brands, but to keep relevance and attention and focus on brands that are so far outdated, nobody should even be shopping there anymore. Like the sustainability that comes with with creativity and ingenuity that comes from people who live everyday lives. That is something you cannot put a price tag on, that type of value. Now, the final aspect of this, because I want to drop this in a 3-piece, not just the creator economy, not just black business ownership, but the final part will be our community conscious. Literally like the philosophy that we hold, the perspective that we have, the ideas, the concepts that we hold towards and about not just our people, but the world around us, and how we are going to participate in contributing to this collective society that makes humanity worth living in its fullness in this life. I believe that we need, and again, I'm going back to self-promote because until you guys give me $1 million of funding, I'm not going to shut up about it. We need this tribal experience that I'm sharing with you guys, or I'd like to have turned into an app, because that allows us to not only be the trendsetters, because everybody steals dances, steals comedy skits, steals scripts straight up off of black creators because they know that they can get the deals and we can't. We can set the trends and gatekeep our culture. And because we're the ones in our community that can create amazing songs or amazing dances and to use those to do this business marketing, which is a majority of where all the creator economy money is, at least is coming from. We can gatekeep our own culture. We can say, hey, if you want to access to use this dance, you have to give us credit. And if you're not giving, and mind you, if you want to learn these dances or participate in this type of community, you have to have access to it. And you actually have to subscribe or at least contribute in some way, shape, or form to this community, to this consciousness, to this culture. and not having any like real digital communities or kind of digital organization on a macro scale like that makes it too difficult to reinforce that and to protect cultures, but not only protect cultures, but to make sure that culture can be appreciated by as many people as possible, as closely to authenticity as it can be. And then the final aspect, which I know I already described, I just read it again, is just making sure that we're holding people accountable to that. Making sure that people know, like, hey, we're not going to put up with that stereotype bullshit no more, especially by mainstream media that we never got a chance in owning. We barely got BET through this shit. We barely got our own black executives, and we don't even have nearly enough. But what we do need is on every single level, from creator, from capitalist, from consumer, from community member, every single person to be able to truly understand that we aren't just brutes, we aren't just slaves, we aren't just entertainers. We really run shit, and we really know how to organize ourselves economically, and we really know how to turn nothing into something and to make that shit last forever. That's exactly why they don't give us anything. But it's what I'm trying to say with all of this, beyond just my black people, but really just my poors. It's you see individual people in our society have $1 billion or $100 million, and it seems so amazing. You don't understand the amount of wealth that a community that is willing to not have any quote unquote billionaires in it, you don't understand how economically abundant that type of community or that type of system can be. If everybody's willing to say this is like a fund of our community, instead of like, oh, that's a billionaire, and that we all get on our hands and knees and beg that billionaire to give us crumbs or like to pay their taxes so we can eat next month. Communities that are able to, hey, we have this fund that meets everybody's needs, and we make sure it exists there in case we need to invest in something, or in case we need to do this, in case we need to supplement this, or we need to corroborate something with somebody. You'll see communities with billions, trillions of dollars, especially effectively organized and run. I mean, a lot of you guys don't understand. Like, you think people in the streets are stupid? Dude, half of these people are geniuses. You don't understand how many, like, multi-millionaire criminals are just walking free all around us. Multi-millionaire criminals walking around every single day. And you don't understand how many millionaires are living in that trap, bro. Absolutely insane, bro. And just like that, we're going to conclude our podcast today. Hopefully, that was something that you appreciated. And this is a conversation that maybe sparked up some flames in your brain. But I want to finish this off, other than begging you guys to buy some merch off Cosmic Nomad Rebel Souls and rep that all summer long. Or check out the YouTube channel, like, comment, subscribe, do everything that helps YouTube show the world that YouTube better start liking black people, because they don't. I guess I'll leave this little bit of advice as to what it means to be famous to me. And hopefully, maybe in the comments, maybe I'll just add this as a poll, but what is fame? Give me a definition of fame to you. At whatever society it pertains to, this one, old one, the real world, the fake world, your mama's house, Wayne's World, Doogie Howser. And let's collectively come up with a perspective, not a destination, but a perspective of success that allows us to fully accept ourselves for who we are, but to stay fully committed to the path of becoming everything that we can be. Mind you, what I'm about to describe to you right now sounds so fucking superficial, and I apologize for that, but it's very simple stuff. Very simple stuff here. And if you want to be famous, just follow these 3 rules. Mind you, this is going to relate to your gender. So forgive me if this doesn't apply to you yet. You may have to tweak it a little bit to make it make more sense. But from what I understand as a cishet male, when guys want to be you, girls want to sleep with you, but nobody genuinely knows how to do it like you, no matter how hard they emulate you, that's when you know you one of them ones. Yeah, and you don't know that you in that position. You feel it because your world reflects it to you. But the craziest part is that I know I just said you don't know it, but the only reason why I said that is because you have to be so delusional in your belief of it that your life becomes a consequence, so much so of that belief. Even the decisions that you make and the ideas that you carry on your brain are in alignment with manifesting that reality outside of yourself to connect you to the world that you've just manifest. Now, mind you, that's not like what I just described there may not be success to everybody, but fame, that's exactly what the fuck that shit is. But also, because I understand I have a lot of dreamers on my page, understand the amount of resentment and pain that will come from other people if they aren't willing to directly benefit off of what you have, or if they are struggling to figure out how to be like you because they want to live a life in alignment with some type of success. But they don't understand they just have to dig within their own self to find their dreams and then pursue those dreams and gamble on those dreams into reality. All right, guys. This was fun. This was very fun. Honestly, I didn't even want to take this episode today, but I realized I felt like spitting. So hopefully you guys enjoy this one, and hopefully this opens up our conversation not only on BBL and IG model escort culture, but the creator economy as a whole, and more specifically as it pertains to girl bossing and feminism, so we can continue to create opportunities in more than just influencing for our ladies. Allow our ladies in our community to see that entrepreneurship expands so much more than beyond just modeling and really just being like a self-created internet model or like a internet escort. Because you can genuinely lead, you can create, you can be a part of a community that changes the world. And I don't want you to limit yourself into thinking that success has to be streamlined through the means that it has been achieved through other women in our society, when the true answer is you might be the first woman to do something that the whole entire world is waiting on so they can be inspired to be the next ones. But maybe it's you not thinking that the world wants that, or not thinking that it's valuable or important enough to be an astrophysicist, to be a doctor, to be a teacher, to be a veterinarian. You think it's a lot easier and a lot cooler to be just an Instagram model or an OnlyFans girl, that you humble your own dreams and stop the world from being able to not only be inspired by you, but to appreciate you in the fullness of who you are, and even better, allow you to expand into a lot more than just a model or just a sex symbol, because they see you as a human being who is becoming from an eternal sense of self rather than a limited shell that they're trying to jerk off to and then get disappointed in. Now, that concludes our video for show. Hopefully that was something that you could appreciate, something that was worth consuming. If you like us, check out our YouTube, check out our Cosmic Nomads Rebel Souls. And if you don't like us, DM us on Instagram and talk some shit. I feel engaged. Now, hopefully you guys have a great rest of your day, a great rest of whatever day you're watching this, and this inspires you to continue to dig just a little bit deeper into the ideas you have, the soul that you have, and see, how can I bring this out into the world and let myself wear all that I am all over my body in a world that is quickly moving into a position to not want me to be anything other than what it is comfortable having me be, which is probably something that I don't even like, or is going to be very difficult for me to accept anyway. Continue being curious, bro. Continue being curious. Continue chasing those fucking dreams, bro. Because the only thing that killed the cat was not curiosity. It was falling for the trap of convenience and giving up on that curiosity. Stay dangerous. Stay rebellious. Stay chasing your heart. You already know what the fuck you want to do. You already know where you're supposed to go. Reverse engineer that shit into reality and force the world to respect you as the person you know you are. Divine, great, amazing. You are. Continue to be. I love you. Rebel Soul forever. I'll catch you later. Rock on.